Thanks, Harris. Now we'll get into some of the current challenges and opportunities, current trends, future issues, as well as some professional opportunities to engage with financial aid. These contributions are largely a result of our interviews. In our interviews, we were able to identify some overarching general challenges. First, the Great Resignation. Financial aid offices are already prone to high turnover rates, and the Great Resignation certainly did not help. Institutions nationwide saw shortages of upwards of 40% of their staff across the board. Next, rules and regulations. Federal guidelines don't always align with institutional priorities and asks. Financial aid administrators are often stuck trying to figure out how to appease institutional objectives and student funding needs while also abiding by federal regulations with no wiggle room. Often, when money is involved, emotions are heightened. Money is important and can be a deal breaker as students make decisions, but sometimes the answer is no, and people may get mad. Financial aid administrators deal with a disproportionate number of angry or upset parents and students when financial aid laws, rules, regulations, and guidelines impact their ability to fund their education. The final general challenge we identified is related to the political climate at any given time. Political priorities impact how education is funded. We've seen a recent example of the politicalization of financial aid in regards to the student loan forgiveness battle. Challenges also can be viewed from the student and the employee perspective. For students, financial aid can often pose a bottleneck in their college application process. Unless a student is well acquainted with the process, or unless they have help, they may get stuck and struggle to navigate all the way through. Additionally, financial aid processes are often the first place where significant student circumstances are disclosed, such as housing or food insecurity. However, these issues are better served by student conduct offices so that students can receive the care and support that they need to thrive. The necessity of these referrals are indicative of another bottleneck for students. From an employee perspective, financial aid offices struggle with a lack of knowledge across external units and departments, as well as uncertainty about when to refer students to financial aid. There are not enough training opportunities for higher ed professionals outside of financial aid to understand even the basics of the financial aid process. Additionally, there's not enough training for staff working in financial aid navigating high needs issues. There are also a number of opportunities within financial aid services. Working with scholarships affords an ability to get creative with funding. Some of the challenges already discussed also present opportunities for increased advocacy. These efforts include offering professional development to partner offices to build basic collaborative student pipelines, as well as address student-facing educational opportunities so that students can better understand the financial aid process. Following COVID, some colleges have seen an increase in grant application activities, allowing for some creativity about how those funds can be allocated. Similarly, appeals for donor partnerships have increased. Some of these partnerships may not be completely realistic for all institutions due to affordability concerns. And finally, a younger talent of employees are entering the higher education field generally, as well as the financial aid field. Some of the current trends related to financial aid include the infusion of funds into specific areas of study based on demand in the workforce. For example, CDPHE, or the Colorado Department of Public Health and Environment, has been providing increased funding for nursing and other health fields. Or CDE, the Colorado Department of Education, has been providing scholarships and grant funding for education and teaching programs. Students are showing a more common apprehension to take out loans in order to pay for their education. It's really unclear where this apprehension comes from, but hypotheses from interviews include a fear of debt or an insufficient ability to explain the loan process to students. Students may envision the loan-taking process as an all-or-nothing system in which they take out all of their loans or none of them. Additionally, the way financial aid eligibility is calculated relies upon income and financial information from 2 years prior to the academic year a student plans to start. This leaves room for quite a bit of discrepancy and error based on job change, loss, etc. Particularly as a result of the pandemic, a higher number of income appeals are being requested and received by financial aid administrators. Finally, an increasing number of multi-generational families are pursuing higher education. This means that multiple generations within the same household may be pursuing degrees, and this impacts how the FAFSA is submitted and can lead to errors and appeals as a result. The articles we've chosen to share provide context and insight to the issues previously discussed. The first, from Inside Higher Ed, is a summary of the impending changes to the FAFSA as a result of the FAFSA Simplification Act. It addresses some of the biggest points of alteration as well as some anticipated challenges and implications. The second is from the Chronicle of Higher Education. This article shares some perspectives about the racial equity concerns related to financial aid and provides some suggestions for how assets can be better assessed to more fairly determine aid eligibility. Both are linked in our handout for further reading. The short answer to the question, what is the future of financial aid services, is quite a lot of it depends. Financial aid is dependent on relevant legislation at the time. The FAFSA Simplification Act is one great example. Similarly, financial aid is dependent upon increasing tuition prices. Are there efforts to ease the burden of increasing tuition? And if not, will more grant funding or financial support come from federal sources? Additionally, loan eligibility criteria has remained unchanged over the past 15 years. Given that tuition prices have increased and the multiple economic fluctuations that have occurred, it's surprising to note that loan eligibility hasn't changed to match. When institutional funding is not adequate to cover the cost of attendance, does that mean that students will have to take on more debt? And additionally, if loan forgiveness legislation goes through, what is the impact to students anticipating taking out loans? You can see that there's quite a lot of opportunity, a lot of challenge, as well as a lot of potential direction for the future of financial aid. Next, we'll do a brief overview of some of the professional associations that financial aid administrators can participate in. The primary association for financial aid administrators is NASFA, the National Association for Student Financial Aid Administrators. NASFA was formed in 1966, hosted their first leadership conference 5 years later, and offers the Certified Financial Aid Administrator program. NASFA-U provides training and professional development opportunities for financial aid administrators, along with credits toward completion of the Certified Financial Aid Administrator program. Regionally, RMASFA is the Rocky Mountain Association of Student Financial Aid Administrators. RMASFA was first organized at the University of Wyoming at Laramie in 1968. This organization represents financial aid administrators from Colorado, Idaho, Montana, Utah, and Wyoming. The mission of RMASFA is to promote professional preparation, leadership development and effectiveness, and mutual support of persons involved in student financial aid administration. Locally, CAFA is Colorado's Association of Financial Aid Administrators. This nonprofit organization was incepted in 1967 and similarly serves the needs of financial aid professionals. CAFA's mission is to provide financial aid administrators with resources and support to continue making education accessible. Both of our interviews and in our research is the scarcity of dedicated education programs for financial aid professionals. Similar to many niche departments within student affairs, there's not a financial aid administrator major. Therefore, a practicum in the financial aid field is hard to come by. However, gaining skills in fields such as accounting, budgeting, finance, data analytics, social work, and data management such as Microsoft Excel are exceptional ways to be prepared for a career in financial aid. Thank you so much for viewing our presentation, and we hope you learned a little bit more about financial aid services.